He scored a total of 12 points his first year in the NCAA and averaged 4 points his entire senior season. Now he's teammates with Steph Curry on the Golden State Warriors. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about him. Hey folks, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Troy, and this is the Half Court Report. It has been an unreal last few days in the NBA with all this coronavirus talk. Lots going on with that. If you didn't check out my last video about that topic, please make sure and do so. Having extraordinary impacts across the NBA and just the sporting world in general. So I'm putting a link to that video on this video. Which side is it? Whichever one it is, that's where the link is going to go. Also, many thanks to the new subscribers that I picked up over the last couple days. If you're watching this right now and you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I'm putting out new videos about the NBA all the time. This is, I think, my fourth one this week. So I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by the time we get to the end of March. We're about a third of the way there, and I would really appreciate your support in helping me do so. So, my video earlier this week about Jontay Porter, brother of Mychal Porter Jr., when he signed with the Memphis Grizzlies, got a great response to that video. So I wanted to do another video today about a recent signing that I think has the potential to have a really big impact too. And this player's name is Mychal Mulder. And whenever I heard of the name Mulder, I always think of Fox Mulder from the old X-Files show. But completely different person. This guy plays basketball. He doesn't investigate aliens. But a little bit about Mychal Mulder. He's a 6'4", he's a two-guard. He grew up in Canada. But unlike Canadian players like Tristan Thompson or Andrew Wiggins or Corey Joseph or SGA, he played high school ball in Canada. He didn't play high school ball in the States. So he grew up in Windsor, Canada, which is literally right across the river from Detroit. He was a top 10 Canadian prospect in 2013. His only NCAA Division I offer was from Detroit Mercy. So Mulder decided not to go to Detroit Mercy, where he had his only offer. He instead went to Vincennes University, which is a small junior college in southwestern Indiana. So, like a lot of JUCO prospects, he was like, okay, let me get a couple years in here, then I'll go to a Division I team. His first year in JUCO really wasn't that great. Only averaged 8 points. Second year was a little bit better, 15.5 points. So colleges finally did start to take notice. He was actually the 13th ranked JUCO prospect after his second year. As far as his offers, he had offers from Creighton in Nebraska. He had offers from University of Indiana, Wichita State. He ended up choosing the Kentucky Wildcats, who of course have that long history of not only success, but also getting guys to the NBA, which was a big reason he picked them. So he was on that 15-16 Kentucky team with Jamal Murray, who was another Canadian. You remember he was a one-and-done prospect at Kentucky before he was drafted by Denver. So he played 24 games his first year at Kentucky, which would have been his junior year of college. Only 4 minutes a game, though, and only averaged half a point. Get this. He scored 12 points his entire year in college, his first year of NCAA. 12 points his entire year. His next year was a little bit better, but still nothing to suggest that he would be an NBA prospect. He started 2 games that year, but only averaged about 4.5 points per game, about 1.5 rebounds per game. Still didn't play a ton, only averaged about 10 minutes a game. And this was the Kentucky team that had Bam Adebayo, they had De'Aaron Fox, they had Malik Monk. So 3 lottery picks on that team. So a really stacked team. Not sure why he didn't play as much. I mean, maybe you could blame Cal, who knows? But then you could also say, well, Cal maybe has some responsibility in helping a guy who only averaged 4 points his senior year now getting to the NBA for the Warriors. So you could look at it from both ways. So no surprise, he goes undrafted. His first 2 years out of college were spent in the G League for Chicago's Windy City Bulls. He spent the beginning of this year in training camp with the Miami Heat before they cut him, and then he ended up signing with their G League team, the Sioux Falls Skyforce, I think is who they are. So finally, things began to change for Mulder late last month. So he got a call up from the G League to sign with the Warriors. So he signed just a 10-day, but this week that has been converted into a multi-year deal because he really impressed his few games with the Warriors. So this is really an example of a guy who has worked hard, he's gotten better, and he's made the most of his opportunity. So when we look at what type of player Mychal Mulder is and what type of player he could be, first thing is the guy's a great athlete. He was one of the best athletes on the team when he played for Kentucky. More importantly, though, and more importantly when you look at the NBA as a whole, his three-point shooting. So his second year in the G League with the Windy City Bulls, 41% on 7 attempts a game. And this year with the Sioux Falls Skyforce, 40% on 10 attempts a game. And he only shot it an average of 13 times a game. So 10 out of his 13 shots, he was shooting from three. And the three-point shot is what he's been doing with the Warriors, too. 7.5 attempts a game, 31%. So not as good, especially when he goes up against those NBA defenses on a night-to-night basis. But the Warriors are hoping they can develop him into one of those off-the-bench 3-and-D type of players. The big question I have, though, is how good is the Warriors' development staff? Because I went through their roster the last few years. Listen to some of these names and tell me if you think these guys are developing currently or if they did develop when they were with the Warriors. Jordan Poole. He was our first-round draft pick this year. He's only averaging about 8 points a game. PER about 7 or 8. No, I don't think he's that great. Alen Smailagic, he was their prospect who they had in their G League team last year. They got him in the second round. Still a very young player. Also, he doesn't blow me away. Jordan Bell, who is out of the league right now, they drafted him a few years ago. I remember when he was drafted. Well, he was drafted by the Bulls, but then the Warriors bought the pick for cash. I remember when they got that pick, everybody was going crazy because they thought Jordan Bell was going to be the next big thing. He didn't really develop. Jacob Evans, who was traded to Minnesota, I believe it was, at the trade deadline. He was their first-round pick 2 years ago. He didn't develop. Patrick McCaw, who they had, who is notable for winning 3 NBA championships his 3 years in the league. I thought he was going to be something out of UNLV. He was with the Warriors a couple years. Didn't develop. Mychal Mulder, he was a guy who was undrafted, who they signed. Had him for a couple years. Didn't develop him. I think maybe you could make a case for players like Kai Bowman, Damian Lee, Kevon Looney to an extent. But I don't think the track record of developing players for the Warriors is that good. So are the Warriors the best spot for Mychal Mulder? Maybe not. That remains to be seen. But let's look at how he fits into the roster for next year. So he's going to have a lot of guys ahead of him on that depth chart. You're going to have Clay coming back. You're going to get a first-round pick, and a good first-round pick. So it could be somebody like Anthony Edwards. Could be somebody like LaMelo. So that would just add another guard to their rotation. Then you've got another guy who they recently signed out of the G League, Juan Toscano-Anderson, who plays the same position as Mychal Mulder. They're going to be competing for minutes in training camp and potentially one of those final roster spots. So with all these players, somebody's going to get squeezed out. So that's just going to put extra pressure on Mychal Mulder to shoot the ball well, to develop at a quick pace, and to play within that team concept. So I'm really rooting for this guy. I hope he can have the type of story like Daniel House or Alex Caruso, a guy who was kind of one of those diamond in the rough type players who was discovered, who put in a lot of work. Now he's really carving out a niche for himself in the NBA. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please like the video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. It really helps me out a lot and allows me to continue to bring you content like this that we can all enjoy. So until next time, my name is Troy, and this is the Half Court Report. Hey guys, one more thing. Here's some more videos to check out on the Half Court Report channel. I hope you like them, and thanks for watching.